Hey all, Avros here, back with the next fight, the Lufenia for Gladio's Lost Chapter that just recently got released along with the debut of Sabin's LD weapon. So this fight was pretty tricky. It took me a few attempts to actually get it done due to some complications and getting the orb to not explode on me right off the bat, so let's start with the orb mechanics with this fight. This orb is an 8 count at combat start and is increased by 8 whenever you delay and deal weakness damage with an attack to the bosses. So it needs to be both for it to count for this one, and the orb does have a maximum of 15 stacks. It will also disappear at 79% HP and reappear at 49% HP. This boss also has a defensive posture buff that it will use to increase its defense, max out their bravery, disable any instant break effects, and disable bravery gains. You will also need to break them or tank the attack to clear this effect. They do this at quest start, 69% and 39% HP. They also have high turn rate on breaks, some very strong AoE bravery plus HP attacks, and their recast is a guaranteed hit that removes any debuffs they have, and does a massive 2 times bravery plus HP attack and inflicts 6 debuffs on their target. So for the successful run I had of this fight, I brought along Sabin to deal with the weakness and delay with his new LD, giving him the plus versions of his moves permanently as long as its buff is up. At the start of the fight, I set everyone up to start maximizing their abilities, so used Sabin's LD, started to master Bartz's Missile and Double Hand, and used Bitter End on Warrior of Light to make sure the team was protected. Once this was done, it was a matter of just using Sabin to keep the orbs under control, while I knocked them down under 79% HP, keeping everyone shielded to prevent too much HP damage. The huge defense of these bosses did mean that Warrior of Light had to rely mostly on battery to deal damage, and once the bosses were below 79% HP, I could relax a bit more on the uses of Sabin's Razor Gale and focus more on damaging the bosses down reasonably evenly. When they got to 69% HP and hit the next defensive posture, I used my Shiva summon to break them and continue the fight without dying, as I only had Warrior of Light before the boss's turns. Coming out of summon, both bosses ended up around 62% HP. Continuing to push the bosses down, I got to 49% HP and used Amidatelions LD call on Warrior of Light, and swapped him out for friend Garland along with the orbs reappearing. I used Garland's BT to start stacking it, and used Fujin LD on Bartz and Jack LD on Sabin before going into Bartz's BT phase for a slightly different attack order than the usual I would use. Realizing the bosses would hit defensive position mid Bartz's BT phase, I saved his elemental attack, his LD, for after that occurred to utilize the high bravery shaving via gravity on that attack to ensure both were broken. Coming out of the Garland BT Aura powered BT phase for Bartz, both bosses end this stage of the fight at 36% HP. Garland then went to work delaying the bosses with his LD attack for the remaining turns he had, and Sabin and Bartz continued to damage rush the bosses to close out the fight. When Garland's turns were used and Warrior of Light came back, the bosses were only on 10% and 11% HP respectively. I then used Sabin's delay to keep the orb count high, as well as delaying the bosses to wrap up this fight. I originally tried to complete this fight with a team of Gladio in place of Warrior of Light, but managed to have a less consistent start at the beginning of the fight, as the orb would frequently blow up before Sabin could get a second turn to delay and get the count back up, and on the 2 attempts I managed to get past the start of the fight, the party completely died a few turns out from finishing in one attempt, and the other Bartz died on the turn before the bosses died, due to not having enough healing and failed the HP and damage requirements. Warrior of Light ended up being a much safer option for a party like this, so keep this in mind if you try and emulate this sort of party setup that I've done. On that note, thank you for watching, and if you want any further assistance with this fight, please ask in the comments down below, and enjoy the rest of the video.
覚悟はいいか。全力だ。光あれ。はあ。せい。受けてみろ。力を貸せ。助け合いだ。走れ光よ。成敗。必殺。光あれ覚悟。助け合いだ。派手に行くぜ。受けてみよう。先行の一撃を。派手に行くぜ。走れ光よ。成敗。受けてみろ。クリスタルの意志だ。遅れを取るでないぞ。乗り込まれよ。腹をくくれ。闘争を楽しもうではないか。
終幕。やっちゃうぞ。届くんだな。油断した。
受けてみろ。成敗。穴から俺は本気だよ。冒険はまだ終わらない。やろうぜ。ここだ。ごめんな。当たれ。 覚悟はいいか。全力だ。助け合いだ。叩き潰してやろう。成敗。しませてみせろ。まだ終わらんぞ。受けてみろ。楽しませてみせろ。まだ終わらんぞ。成敗。派手に行くぜ。光あれ。はあ。必殺。
穴から俺は本気だよ。
光あれ。はあ。受けてみろ。走れ光を。成敗。受けてみろ。これが修行の成果だ。